The following program is paid for by Lifespan Wealth Management, providing financial advice since 1993. At Lifespan Wealth Management, the main thing they do is provide retirement planning and advice and manage their clients' investment accounts. If you're looking for a financial advisor, contact their office at 478-922-8100 to set up your complimentary consultation. Lifespan Wealth Management has offices in Macon and Warner Robins for your convenience, and you can learn more about them by visiting their website at retirerelax.com. While you're on the site, visit the special report section, which provides great financial education information on many different topics. You can also sign up to receive their digital feeds, which are short videos providing great information relevant to retirement, investing, and matters that affect your money. They also offer seminars to the community at no cost. If you're looking for a guest speaker for your church or civic organization, give them a call to discuss the topics you would like them to cover. Again, their contact number is 478-922-8100. Now, from the Macon studio of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's time for Your Money with Sherry Goss, Randy Goss, Jonathan Eisner, and Corey Albrecht.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's doing fine. And happy holidays to everyone. Hope you're not going too crazy out buying presents. So anyway, jumping right into this, this is something that was pretty interesting that I ran across. The National Geographic has just released its 2025 Annual Pictures of the Year. The issue features striking wildlife photos highlighting endangered species and a fragile ecosystem. Some of the photos also show once endangered species bouncing back thanks to conservation efforts. It also provides a glimpse into the cultures you may otherwise never see. Now, to see these, you will have to provide your email address, so I imagine you're going to get emails from National Geographic, which you could opt out of. So
it is a great magazine.
They were very good photos. I found them very pleasing.
Very fun.
Do you remember any of the species that were gone and are making a recovery?
No, I couldn't even recall it, but there were some odd-looking things.
It's pretty cool to hear this because all you ever hear about is species going away,
right, exactly.
That's a really good
and not
point.
making recoveries.
Yep. So the Trump Gold Card program that opens applications for $1 million visas, inviting applicants to pay a non-refundable $15,000 processing fee to begin the process. Applicants receive a fast-track pathway to permanent resident legal status in the U.S., subject to receipt of the payment and a vetting process by the Department of Homeland Security. Employers also have the ability to sponsor workers for $2 million with the program's gold corporate cards. $100 billion. That's how much revenue could be gained from the Gold Card program.
That's pretty cool.
We could only wish.
Right. All right. The U.S. government seized the oil on board a tanker captured off the coast of Venezuela last week. The Department of Justice received a warrant to seize the tanker, which was carrying black market sanctioned oil. The vessel is traveling to the United States, where the U.S. will seize the oil on board the vessel via a legal process. The U.S. could seize more oil and has assembled a list of vessels transporting oil to sanctioned countries. The administration's representative said, "We're not going to stand by and see these sanctioned vessels sail the seas with black market oil, the proceeds of which will fuel narco-terrorism of rogue and illegitimate regimes around the world." 303 billion barrels, that's the estimated size of Venezuela's proven crude oil reserves, and that's according to the U.S. Energy Information Agency, based on data from 2023. This accounts for an estimated 17% of all petroleum reserves in the world. Venezuela has faced tough U.S. sanctions since 2005 over the charges of corruption. So, anyway, well, let's talk about scams right off the bat. Be very careful. I got a call from my mom last week to tell me that she had been scammed. At least the story ended up not costing her anything because she caught it so quickly. But here's what happened. Late in the afternoon, she mailed a package to relatives in Texas using one of the post office's special delivery options. The following morning, she received a text about the package she had mailed, and the text is important. It is supposedly from the U.S. Post Office informing her that the package that she had shipped the following afternoon was held up due to insufficient postage, which was short 35 cents. The text provided a link to pay for the shortfall, and I hope you can see where this is going, but the text was a Trojan horse. The credit card link was the Army lurking inside that horse. She put the credit card into the system, but was having problems getting the system to process the transaction. So she used a second credit card. She finally got fed up because that one didn't work either. So she did what any 89-year-old grandmother would do. She hopped in her car and raced through Thomaston to the post office and stood in line. And when she got to the counter, she started telling the clerk what had happened. The clerk simply said, "Stop, you've been scammed. The U.S. Post Office does not use text." So she got back in the car and immediately called American Express, and she repeated the story. And while she was on the phone with the Amex customer support person, they said, "Did you just make a charge $4,000 to the Waldorf Astoria in New York?" And she says, "Obviously not." Well, while they were on the phone, 2 other charges came in for $2,000 and another one for $3,700. Each charge was in a different state. The card was immediately shut down. And the interesting thing here is just how fast the card was distributed to all these different scammers and thieves. From the time the package was dropped at the post office in Thomaston until the card was cut off was less than 16 hours. So what is also amazing is that the fraudsters had the name of the person sending the package, tracked it down to their cell phone number, which was not on the package, and perpetrated this fraud at lightning speeds. Please warn your relatives about this. And if you get a text from the IRS, the post office, any of these government agencies, they do not use Social Security. They do not use text. So
how do you think they even intercepted? I mean, I'm just trying to think through this. She dropped the package off, right?
Yep.
Innocently.
Yep.
Right? Just normal routine. Then receives a text message. So somebody knew she dropped a package off, but found her name and phone number and everything. How in the world?
It has to be somebody
in the mail system.
In the mail system.
That's disturbing.
Yes, it is. And Mom has told me that they fired somebody from there for identity theft, and then they hired him back until the court date.
Wow.
Yeah, right. So anyway.
My best guess is that the fraudsters used a site like White Pages, which collects public information about people from phone companies, local tax records, and online transactions to compile and sell that information. And the scary thing is that the most expensive package on White Pages is only $40 to get information like your phone number, your address, related family members, and even nicknames that you've gone by in the past. Now, with the amount of money that they stole from Randy's mom's card, I mean, it's easy to justify that $40 spending on that package. But there is a way to get your information removed from this site, and we're going to be putting a step-by-step guide in the Special Reports tab on our website. Just visit retirerelax.com, go to the Special Reports tab, and if you're interested in how to get your information off White Pages, the name of the report is How to Opt Out of White Pages.
So Corey actually did a search on White Pages for Randy's mom, and it took him about 15 minutes to get all the information that someone would need to recreate that scam. And this was the free version of White Pages. Now imagine what information the paid version gives you access to.
I'm wondering now, maybe she put it in her mailbox and put the flag up.
Well, she's done that before, and she's come back and found the mailbox door down and all the mail gone.
Right.
So
Yes.
I guess maybe she doesn't do that anymore, but that would be an easy way for somebody to snoop through somebody's mailbox.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a big problem.
Jeez. In the world we live in, it's becoming more and more important to be on the lookout for these kind of scams, obviously. We know that this is not an ideal way to go about looking at the world, but it is important to stay vigilant and protect yourself. Texts or links that seem odd are odd, and you should always double check before engaging with them. Numbers that you are instructed to call are always just a Google search away from verifying that it is the company's actual number. Text messages or emails that encourage you to rush or do something immediately should be a sign to tap the brakes and take a moment to really think about whether or not this is a real issue or somebody trying to trick you.
Absolutely.
All right. And while we're on discussing fraud, financial fraud costs for older adults added up to about $81.5 billion in 2024, according to the FTC. Last year, scams reported to the Federal Trade Commission by adults ages 60 and older reached $2.4 billion. That was up 23% over 2023 and over 300% from 2020. The increase is driven by scams that involve individual losses of $100,000 or more, accounting for $1.6 billion, or 68% of that total. However, because most fraud goes unreported, the agency estimates the real losses experienced by older adults in 2024 may be as high as $81.5 billion. The bulk of the money was lost due to investment scams. So please be careful if anything comes up investment-wise, talk to somebody first. This crime is not just financial. Many people have had everything taken from them say the emotional impact is the hardest thing to cope with. I can imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
While older adults are more likely to report large losses, financial fraud against consumers of all ages has been increasing over time. At the same time, financial institutions and lawmakers have been paying closer attention. Many banks and other financial institutions ask account holders for a trusted contact, which is someone who can be contacted in certain circumstances, including when financial exploitation is suspected. The Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, or FINRA, requires brokerages to make a reasonable effort to add a trusted contact to accounts, although investors are not required to provide one.
Additionally, a proposal that aims to help combat elder fraud is pending in Congress. Called the Financial Exploitation Prevention Act, the proposed legislation would let certain financial institutions delay executing suspicious transactions that may be due to financial exploitation, among other provisions. The House version of the bill cleared committee in September, and the Senate bill is awaiting consideration by the Banking Committee.
You know, as technology has evolved, criminals have capitalized on the expanded ways to reach their potential victims, with emails, texts, social media, and online ads. For example, a seemingly innocent text from a stranger, like the one Mom got, may evolve into a trusting relationship. And when the scammer suggests putting money towards a great investment, the now trusting person sends funds to an account they believe will be making them huge gains. Kathleen DeFon, an assistant director with the FTC's Bureau of Customer Protection, said it can really be difficult to recover the money, and the scammers move really quick to get the money out of their account and move it somewhere else, often overseas. Older adults are also more likely than younger adults to report losing money on tech support scams that involve prizes, sweepstakes, lottery scams, romance scams, and government impersonation scams, according to the FTC.
Nevertheless, there are ways to try helping older parents or other loved ones to avoid being a victim. One, avoid blame. For starters, you can simply discuss the potential for fraud and how scammers try to find new victims. Two, a sense of urgency. For example, if a stranger contacts you out of the blue and there's urgency, it's a really good sign that someone is trying to defraud you. Three, be informed. You can also sign up to receive consumer alerts on the FTC's website so you'll be aware of the latest scams and can share the information with other people.
I'm going to make a comment on that be informed piece there, Jonathan. We all have these very powerful phones in our pocket, and most of the time people don't use them to get more educated. This is one thing you really should get more educated on. Go to the FTC's website, and they've got great training out there that at least gets you a little smarter. We have a special report on our retirerelax.com website titled Internet Scams and Identity Theft. The report discusses various scams, how to freeze and unfreeze your credit, plus getting on the do not call list and reporting identity theft and fraud to authorities. And that is really important. A lot of people don't do that, but you should. It's a really good read, and it's absolutely free.
So I had a case a few years ago that was really shocking. I had a client, and her dad had dementia, and he was still living in his home, but she would take food to him every other day and check on him and make sure he took a shower, make sure he was eating, make sure it was okay. And so she shows up one day, and he's got his checkbook laying on the counter, and he's crying. And she said, "Dad, what is wrong?" And he said, "I've overdrawn my checkbook." And he shouldn't even have had the checkbook, she realized then. But anyways, what had happened is he responded to one of those things you get in the mail where that says you've won a sweepstakes. Yep. And he responded by writing a check to the company. Well, that company sold his information to hundreds of other people. And there was a pile of receipts in the dining room, a pile of companies he had sent checks to. It was over $100,000 that he had spent out of his checkbook in these scams, believing that it was true that he actually won money, but he had to pay to get the money. So you've got to watch a whole bunch of stuff when you start having aging relatives, what they're doing with their money and their checkbook and all of that.
But it's not just aging relatives. Sometimes it's the romance scams. You had a client.
Oh, that was terrible.
That was corresponding with a guy.
Had never met him.
Never met the guy, and the guy convinced her to give hundreds of thousands of dollars in this scheme to bring oil to America in a tanker. Maybe it's the one that got seized. But
it was terrible.
She ended up losing the house and everything. It was terrible.
Well, I have come to find out that there is no measure too low. I mean, for scammers, and now I have a teenage son, and something I'm hyper aware and sensitive to is this thing going around called sexploitation, where they convince these teenagers who don't know any better. They disguise themselves as a girl or a guy, the opposite sex, entice the teenager to send crude pictures
Yep.
over the airwaves, of course, and then threaten to disseminate. To just release those for otherwise, for ransom, like for money.
And there have been teens who have killed themselves.
Who have
over
killed
this.
themselves, and so human lives are literally being lost because these guys will stoop. They will stoop so low.
That's a good way to put it.
So it's bad. It's really bad. All right, cash can feel safe, but it doesn't grow your wealth. Savers generally do need some cash on hand for unexpected financial emergencies, and cash can seem like a safe parking spot. But holding too much can hurt savers over the long term, especially if it comes at the expense of owning stocks, which are generally the growth engine in a portfolio. While cash is insulated from the whipsawing nature of stocks, it's at risk due to a more insidious threat, that being inflation. For example, $10,000 in cash stuffed under the mattress 30 years ago and earning zero interest would be worth about $4,700 today after accounting for inflation. That's a loss of about 53%. In other words, that pile of money can buy about half of what it could 30 years ago.
Meanwhile, $10,000 invested in the S&P 500 U.S. stock index would be worth about $92,600, a return of about 826%, according to BlackRock. Inflation touched its highest level in about 40 years in 2022. While it has fallen considerably since then, inflation remains above the Federal Reserve's long-term target, around 2%. Of course, there are some caveats. For one, households generally shouldn't avoid cash altogether. Households do need at least some cash on hand, whether for emergencies or perhaps for saving toward a short-term purchase like a car or a house.
And households should generally think of holding 2 to 6 months worth of additional cash in an emergency fund for unexpected financial shocks. Further, not all cash is created equal. Cash, in finance lingo, is shorthand for liquid, readily available funds invested conservatively and subject to relatively little market risk. It could refer to many different things: hard currency, money held in a checking or savings account at a traditional brick and mortar bank, a certificate of deposit, money market funds, or a high-yield savings account offered by an online bank. Investing may feel like a foreign concept to many people. This may paralyze people and prevent them from moving forward. But that is where we can help.
Yep. If you've been sitting on the investing sidelines or need to move an account or consolidate accounts, come see us. And we can sit with you and evaluate your financial goals, timelines, risk tolerance, etc. I encourage you to give us a call, 478-922-8100, and set up a complimentary consultation and come see Sherry, myself, or Corey and talk through it. All right, next up, IRS says it is not too early to get ready for the 2026 tax season. Man, but didn't we just finish the 2025 tax season like yesterday?
Yeah,
it feels
right.
like.
It does.
What's next? With significant tax law updates thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and IRS efforts to boost e-filing for returns and direct deposits for refunds, the upcoming filing season looks to be different for many taxpayers. Your best bet? Get organized early, stay informed, and use the tools that are available to you. Getting a jump on things now can help ensure that you're prepared for the 2026 filing season. The IRS urges taxpayers to get organized now to take advantage of changes under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that could impact tax deductions and refunds in the next filing season. As the 26 season approaches, the IRS is urging taxpayers to take a few simple steps now to make next year's filing process smoother, faster, and less stressful. The agency has launched the first in a series of special, quote, get ready reminders designed to help individuals prepare well before it's time to file. The overall message is very straightforward. A little preparation now, which is gathering documents, organizing financial information, staying up to date on new laws, that can make a big difference when it's time to submit your return.
This year, early preparation is especially important given the significant changes to your tax picture under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The Act contains several high-impact provisions that taxpayers will need to understand before filing, including new rules like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on car loan interest. Importantly, these aren't exemptions. They are temporary tax deductions, and a number of rules and exceptions apply. Since the OBBBA became law, the IRS has been issuing guidance and expects to release even more information about the new law as tax season approaches. One easy way to set yourself up for success is to get organized early. Missing or incorrect records, like relying solely on pay stubs, can lead to errors, audits, or delayed refunds. Starting early helps avoid the scramble once tax season begins. The IRS recommends beginning with the basics. That means having all this information in one spot. Bank account details, including your routing and account numbers, will be especially important now that direct deposit is used by most taxpayers to receive refunds. According to the IRS, 8 out of 10 taxpayers get their refunds through direct deposit, and the agency issues more than 9 out of 10 refunds that in less than 21 days, which is great. Forms W-2 are used to report wages and withholding for salaried employees. You should have yours in hand by January 31st.
Yep. Records of digital asset transactions such as cryptocurrencies, sales, or transfers must be reported for tax purposes. That information might be provided by your platform that you use. However, if your platform doesn't supply it, or if your wallet isn't in a traditional platform, you will need to find and organize it yourself. While you may want to file early, don't jump the gun and file before you have all of your information together. Filing before you receive a final Form W-2 or a Form 1099 can create mismatches in the IRS records, which can result in processing delays or worse, such as having a second look from the IRS or an audit. And you don't want to rush and then be pressed into filing an amended tax return this year. An increasingly skinnier IRS means that even longer wait times may occur for refunds.
This being said, the IRS encourages taxpayers to access their online accounts on the IRS website. With an online account, you can view prior year returns and other tax records, including your adjusted gross income, or AGI, which you'll need for some tax software programs, and official IRS transcripts, make payments, schedule future payments, enter into installment agreements, and review your payment history. Access or retrieve your Identity Protection PIN, your IP PIN, a 6-digit number that provides an extra layer of security against tax-related identity theft. And you can also authorize a tax professional, like a tax attorney or accountant, to view your tax records and talk to the IRS on your behalf without you having to sign Form 2848.
And let me jump in here. This year we set up a online account with the IRS. So if you're we put quarterly payments into it, so we don't have to write a big check at the end of the year or something. And if you're a small business person, this is not a bad idea for you to do. That way you're protecting yourself against having to come up with a large amount of money at tax time.
Right.
So just think
I would
about
encourage it as well. All right. Here's why you make 6 figures and still are living paycheck to paycheck. This is from one writer in a publication that we follow. He says that he's been practicing financial planning for more than 30 years and is now seeing a new financial phenomenon spreading through America like a quiet cancer. And that is a rapidly growing population of Americans 30 to 50 who earn more than $100,000 a year, and yet they're living squarely paycheck to paycheck. He calls them lifestyle loopers because even if they make $250,000 a year, they've become irresistibly susceptible to perpetual lifestyle inflation. It's a tongue twister. Are these people undereducated? No. Do they lack access to ChatGPT or the internet? No. Do they have massive garnishments taken from their paychecks? Also, no. So how does a 6-figure household fall so far behind while making so much money today in America?
According to long-running national surveys, roughly 1 in 4 Americans lives paycheck to paycheck, and that figure has climbed from earlier decades. Combine that with other reports showing that a large share of households don't have enough savings to weather even a modest financial emergency, and begin to understand why so many Americans, including higher earners, are one mishap away from financial distress. In a country with social media FOMO, sticky inflation, and constant lifestyle pressure, the 6-figure paycheck doesn't stretch the way it used to years ago. But the biggest reasons come down to financial behavior, and after working with thousands of families, here's what's really crushing the 6-figure income earners.
Yep. The first one is no spending plan, just spending. Many high-income households work like crazy to climb into the 6-figure range, and when they finally get there, the internal monologue sounds a lot like this: "I've earned this. I deserve this. I can buy what I want. My neighbors just went to Italy, and I saw on Instagram my college roommate just bought a BMW. Why shouldn't I get one? Dinner out 4 times a week. Sure. Holiday trip to Europe in peak season. Why not? Designer clothes on sale. Grab them before they disappear." The problem is there is no measurement system, and nobody on the internet shares their net worth. No budget, no tracking, no responsibility. Most 6-figure earners who feel broke simply cannot tell you where their money goes, because the truth is almost all of it goes out the door. So I remember when you were working at CCCS in Atlanta, Sherry, you had airline pilots that were coming in making $200,000+ a year, and they were up to their debt and eyeballs.
They're living up to the whole Jones thing.
And this is before social media even.
Oh, yeah. This is a long time. This is 40 years ago,
Yeah.
probably. But anyways, yeah, they were trying to keep up with everybody else by buying the house in the right neighborhood, buying the car that looked right, and buying all these things. And we would see it all day long. And it was terribly depressing. And it had a huge influence on me and what I wanted to do with my money, because I saw them just throwing away thousands of dollars for stuff they didn't even really care about, but they felt like they had to buy to show somebody off.
You know, I was just talking to a prospect the other day, and they basically are in a bankruptcy situation. And the gentleman says, I know I made some mistakes. I know I probably should have put more money away. I know I should have probably stopped living in the moment and thought about the future. Well, yeah, he should have. But he says, every time we took a family vacation, I always felt, because I worked so hard, that I deserved to stay in the Ritz. I deserved to stay in nice hotels. I deserved to go out to 5-star restaurants. And then he says, well, then I had to come back and pay the bill off, and it take me 6 months to pay that off. It's a perpetual loop. I mean,
Yes.
Right.
It's terrible.
Absolutely.
Lifestyle creep, they call
is.
it.
Yep. The second one is pay yourself last. High earners often have the most dangerous financial mindset. Like, I'll always make this kind of money. That false sense of security leads to the worst habits in personal finance, which is saving only what's left over if they save at all outside of their 401k. Spoiler alert, nothing is ever left over. Six-figure earners often pre-spend their houses or their bonuses before they arrive. Instead, they should be living off the base pay and treating bonuses like forced savings. Without a pay-yourself-first system, the money disappears instantly.
So number 3, social media shame, the silent killer of financial progress. One of the most surprising barriers is purely emotional, which is high earners are embarrassed to ask for help. They tell themselves, if I'm smart enough to earn $200,000 or $300,000, I should be smart enough to manage my own money. But family financial planning is a skill set of budgeting, balance sheets, cash flow analysis, insurance strategy, and tax planning. It's no different than medicine or law. High income doesn't equal high financial literacy and doesn't mean you'll be a good financial decision maker. Pride keeps many from getting the help they need until the problem becomes unmanageable. 4, poor decisions on the big 3, home, car, school. 6-figure households often make the same 3 crippling decisions. Too much house or even multiple houses. The home becomes your personal money pit. Next, too expensive a vehicle, leased, financed, or both. Remember, a car is guaranteed to be a depreciating asset. Third, private school tuition that doesn't fit the long-term plan. Among private grade school, high school, and college, you might spend $1 million to keep up with the Joneses. One big decision can sink a budget. 3 big decisions can sink a household. These choices lock families into high monthly obligations, forcing them to earn more just to survive rather than comfortably living off their current income.
Yep. And 5th is the planning gap is real. In a major CFP board survey, households with a written financial plan, whether earning the national median or more than $100,000, were more than twice as likely to report financial comfort and stability compared to households without one. That's not a coincidence. Planning produces clarity. Clarity produces discipline. Discipline produces wealth. Bottom line, in today's America, you can make $100,000, $200,000, even $300,000 and still be one bad week away from financial disaster. That's not inflation. That's not politics. That's a warning.
The following program is paid for by Lifespan Wealth Management, providing financial advice since 1993. At Lifespan Wealth Management, the main thing they do is provide retirement planning and advice and manage their clients' investment accounts. If you're looking for a financial advisor, contact their office at 478-922-8100 to set up your complimentary consultation. Lifespan Wealth Management has offices in Macon and Warner Robins for your convenience, and you can learn more about them by visiting their website at retirerelax.com. While you're on the site, visit the special report section, which provides great financial education information on many different topics. You can also sign up to receive their digital feeds, which are short videos providing great information relevant to retirement, investing, and matters that affect your money. They also offer seminars to the community at no cost. If you're looking for a guest speaker for your church or civic organization, give them a call to discuss the topics you would like them to cover. Again, their contact number is 478-922-8100. Now, from the Macon studio of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's time for Your Money with Sherry Goss, Randy Goss, Jonathan Eisner, and Corey Albrecht.
Okay, there was a slight.
We got to re-record that halftime segment there.
I think maybe I pushed the wrong button.
Oh, okay. All right. So maybe it's not as bad as it seems.
I thought that seemed awfully long.
All right. Well, regardless, we're in the second half of our show today. All right. Next, housing affordability may improve next year, but do not expect a market crash. Housing affordability is poised to improve next year as mortgage rates decrease slightly and home price appreciation slows down some. Those conditions, provided they hold, could bring more buyers and sellers off the sidelines and into the market during the traditional busy spring home buying season, and help home sales notch their first significant gains since they plunged in 2023 to levels not seen since the mid-90s. Ultimately, affordability improvements next year are likely to be the first step in a longer period of market normalization, according to economists and experts. Given just how aggressively prices and mortgage rates have risen in recent years, many buyers will remain shut out of the market.
Slower price growth. When many people think of scenarios that would make homes more affordable, what often comes to mind is events like the global financial crisis, which sent U.S. home prices down an average of 27% between 2006 and 2012. That's not on the deck for 2026. While it's possible that home prices fall slightly on average next year, few housing experts expect a crash because the country still has a shortage of homes.
That's right. Instead, most affordability gains will likely come via slightly lower mortgage rates and a pace of home price appreciation that drops below the average wage growth. Many economists forecast only a modest home price gains of 1 to 3% next year. That gives incomes, which have been rising at 3 to 4% range annually, a chance at outpacing home price appreciation for the first time in years. Home prices are also falling in some markets, particularly in the Southeast and the Mountain West.
Lower mortgage rates would also help affordability and are a real possibility. Rates have been hovering around 6.2% in recent months, and many economists expect them to average somewhere in the low 6% range next year. That's down from this year's average of about 6.6%. Across the year, there will be improvement, says Danielle Hale, chief economist at Realtor.com. We expect monthly payments to be a little bit lower for the first time in 5 years.
Amen. That's really good to hear.
A lot of people are glad to hear that.
Here's a concept, the power of 6%. Even relatively small drops in mortgage rates can translate to meaningful changes in monthly payments. A homeowner with a $320,000 mortgage at 6.8%, which is where rates were at the beginning of 2025, would pay about $2,086 toward their loan every month. At 6.2%, which is where rates are right now, they would pay $1,960, so over $100 difference. There's noticeably more activity the closer to 6% we get, according to Mike Simonson, chief economist at the real estate brokerage Compass. More inventory can help spur the market by giving buyers more options to choose from. For sale inventory improved this year, and most economists forecast another jump next year, especially as sellers who tried and failed to market their homes in 2025 give it another go in the spring.
Yeah, Buy Simonson estimates about 150 sellers attempted to sell their homes this year but gave up. Many will likely return this spring if rates stay lower, helping improve both for sale inventory levels and the size of buyer pool if they move. In Huntsville, Alabama, home price appreciation has been relatively muted in recent years amid a surge in new construction activity. And the slower growth caught some sellers who attempted to list at the top of the dollar, at the top dollar this year off guard. He expects that many will be back in the spring with more realistic price expectations. This year felt like a let's just put it out there and see what happens kind of year. But I think sellers are going to have a better understanding of what the market is going to be like this coming year. Huntsville, which has been rapidly growing but rapidly adding new homes, has been a market that has been slightly tilted towards the sellers in recent years. But many other cities in the Southeast have seen buyers pick up power as housing supply outstripped demand, while sellers remain in control in much of the Northeast and the Midwest.
The regional differences, which are largely explained by new construction and buyers mitigating in search for better affordability, have kept home prices rising quickly in many northeastern and midwestern cities and pushed down prices in markets like Denver, Phoenix, as well as Texas and Florida. That divide isn't likely to change next year. Realtor.com sees cities like Hartford, Connecticut, Rochester, New York, and Grand Rapids, Michigan leading the nation in metrics like price appreciation and home sales, while those measures are more likely to fall in many Florida markets.
Redfin, meanwhile, sees the suburbs of New York City, Syracuse, New York, and Cleveland as the most likely to heat up in 2026, while markets in Nashville, Tennessee, coastal Florida, and parts of Texas could continue to cool. Still, some markets that have cooled off in recent years could be headed for more stable prices next year. Zillow expects home values to decline in just 12 of the country's 50 largest metro areas next year, down from 24 this year. In the western suburbs of Chicago, home prices have continued to rise in 2025 amid steady demand from buyers seeking more space but an easy commute to the city via public transit. Let me see here. They see that would change a lot in 2026, especially if lower mortgage rates encourage more buyers to jump into the market. As we've seen before, they say, this pandemic situation, things start to calm down, but prices continue to go up. I think the market is going to be really strong next year, especially if rates go in that direction. That's going to be very interesting to watch because I have a lot of clients that not only would like to sell their house and downsize, but they want prices to come down so they can afford to downsize because the price of a smaller home is the same as a bigger home in a lot of areas. And so they're just kind of stuck in their house.
That is, if they can find a smaller home.
Right.
So an interesting situation that we came across this week. So my family goes, my wife's sister and dad, we all go to the beach every June, as you guys know, and we rent a big house. And so this year, upcoming year, we're about to rent the same house for the third year in a row that we've stayed in for 24 and 25. And so we were curious because the house this past year when we went in June had a for sale sign in the yard. And we were like, I wonder what this goes for because it's a walk to the beach. This is, the Panhandle, Destin area. So
how many bedrooms?
It's 5 bedrooms, 7 bath, I think.
Wow.
It's a really big, very nice house. So we were curious. So I went and looked at the Zillow history this week. And I think a lot of people trying to sell their houses are about to get caught in this situation. Here's what happened. In 2021, that house was sold for $1.25 million. Okay. It was bought by somebody for $1.25 million. 11 months later, this is the kind of market it was immediately after COVID, right? And really since. 11 months later, that same buyer sold that house for $2 million. So a $750,000 gain in 11 months, okay? Well, now that buyer's been trying to unload it pretty much since for the last several years. And they don't want to take a loss. You can tell like all the price changes on Zillow, they'll go down $1,000. Yep. They're trying to get $2 million and they go down $1,500. Like that's not moving the needle in.
That's right.
And so they're stuck.
They are.
They're stuck because they overpaid in 2022.
It's like musical chairs and the music just stopped.
Right. They were the ones standing up
in
2022 when they bought that thing for $2 million.
Lesson learned.
Yeah. So I think we're going to see a lot of that from people who.
But their saving grace is it's on the beach, it's rentable. Hopefully the rent prices are not going to be so exorbitant that you can't stay there next year.
Right. For sure.
And they get a big deduction for not renting it because they take a loss.
Losses.
True.
Well, so.
But it's not a very pretty situation for all the people that are going to get caught.
No, it's not.
Who overpaid.
All righty.
All right, back to me. Sorry. With the penny going away, what should you do with the ones in your coin jar? That's the message from Kevin McCauley, who is the CEO of Coinstar. That's the company behind those coin cashing machines that you see in the supermarket. American consumers made only 16% of their payments in cash in 2023, according to the Federal Reserve. A 2022 Pew survey found that around 40% of consumers never use cash at all. By now, most Americans know the U.S. Mint won't be making any more pennies, and some businesses began reporting shortages of the coins even before the last pennies were ever stamped.
Many Americans regard both nickels and pennies as more nuisance than currency. The typical household is sitting on $60 to $90 in neglected coins, enough to fill one of those 1 or 2 pint-sized beer mugs, according to the Federal Reserve. Americans throw away millions of dollars in coins every year, literally treating them like trash. Why do we treat coins like trash? To state the obvious, coins are worth money because they are money. Coinstar converts $3 billion with a B in coins into spendable cash every year, one coin jar at a time. The average jar yields $58, and that's enough to go out to dinner almost.
For one person.
Most of us don't realize how much our coins are actually worth. Thus, a trip to a coin exchange kiosk can yield a pleasant surprise. People underestimate the value of their coin jar by about half, and it's a wonderful experience when you see the total pop up on the coin exchange machine. It's like you just found a bunch of money. According to the Fed, certain groups of Americans, low-income households and those over 55, still use plenty of cash, along with people who prefer to shop in person. As for the rest of us, it's time for a paradigm shift. Don't think of your coins as clutter. The Treasury still mints more than 5 billion coins a year, although the figure is dropping according to the journal Coin News.
Those are just natural resources coming out of the earth, Macaulay said. Copper-plated zinc for pennies, copper-nickel alloy for nickels, dimes, and quarters. His point? If Americans got serious about gathering up their idle coins and recycling them into the monetary system, the mint wouldn't have to make so many new ones.
What a concept. They should have an advertisement about this.
They really should. Granted, Macaulay has a vested interest. His company collects a small cut of the coins that consumers deposit. You can go to your own bank or credit union and not pay any fee. Both NerdWallet and Bankrate offer tip sheets on exchanging coins for cash. Most banks will take an account holder's coins for free, but you need to roll the coins yourself.
And Macaulay also said that Coinstar generally waives its fee if the depositor chooses to trade the coins in for a retail gift card rather than cash. He is not alone in forecasting the future for the penny, the nickel, and many more profitable kin. Ted Roseman, an industry expert or analyst at Bankrate, says America has been much slower than parts of Europe and Asia to adopt mobile payments and contactless credit cards. The pandemic delivered a timely reminder of how much we still rely on cash. Consumers and business owners sat on their coins amid the global shutdown, seeding an actual coin shortage. So,
Anyway,
oops.
Retiring coins. Where does it end? Sorry, I was looking at the next page. As it turns out, nixing the penny creates new problems. As Americans rid itself of pennies, the New York Times reported, the nation will soon find itself flooded with nickels. The government loses nearly 3 cents on every penny it mints. On a nickel, it loses nearly 9 cents. More nickels would mean steeper losses. America could kill both the penny and the nickel, the two money losers on its roster of coins. But without pennies or nickels, how would a consumer pay a 15-cent tab? You could round every price to the nearest 10 cents, but then what becomes of the quarter, and so on?
That is really going to be an issue if that ever comes around. But on another note, are your old pennies worth millions? Do you own any old pennies worth as much as millions of dollars? Experts say it's highly unlikely. You may have seen one of those many headlines about valuable pennies in circulation. Lincoln wheat penny worth $124 million you could have at home. One reads, but the reality is most pennies are worth 1 cent or possibly a bit more. Reality does not meet the hype, one expert says. There are $1 million pennies, but there are no $100 million pennies, said Don Perlman, spokesman for a nonprofit organization composed of many of the nation's rarest coin experts. Only a few Lincoln cents dated between 1909 to 1958 with the wheat stalks, design on the back, wheat pennies, have sold for $1 million or more.
I wouldn't be that upset if somebody told me my penny was only worth $1 million.
I know.
Instead of
Even
$100 million.
$100,000.
Yeah.
I'll
Even
take
$100 grand.
Yeah.
I'll take $5 for it. I think that's a pretty good rate of return on your penny.
Right.
The most valuable U.S. coin ever, which is a $20 gold piece, a 1933 double eagle coin, sold for $18.9 million at auction in 2021. The most valuable pennies, which are rare but possibly still in circulation, are 1943 copper Lincoln wheat pennies, like Corey was just talking about, a few of which were produced accidentally as the U.S. mints were supposed to use zinc to save copper for the World War II effort, according to John Feigenbaum, publisher of Rare Coin Price Guide Graysheet. In rare cases, some 1943 pennies have sold for $1 million, while one went for more than $200,000 at auction in 2019. Depending on the condition, these 1943 Lincoln wheat pennies could be worth, at most, between $100,000 and $250,000, according to Feigenbaum. But the likelihood of having a near priceless penny is similar to saying your lottery ticket might be worth $100,000. Of course, anything is possible, right? But not likely, according to Feigenbaum, who is also the P&G's executive director.
Yep. So what are the wheat pennies really worth? So-called wheat pennies get their name from the back of the coin having stalks of wheat encircling the 1 cent text. They were produced between 1909 and 1958, and after that, the wheat stalks were removed and the pennies began displaying the engraving of the Lincoln Memorial. Most Lincoln wheat pennies are not super valuable, and they're worth just a few cents more than 1 penny. However, some may escalate into the hundreds of dollars depending on the condition and when they were minted. Certain vintages, especially with the minting eras, may be worth thousands, but headlines about the super valuable Lincoln wheat pennies stretch the imagination. Most likely, the headlines are created by artificial intelligence to drive traffic to their website.
Wow, imagine that. Something in
Oh, gee.
2025 created by AI to drive online traffic. Seems like you hear that every day.
There's our AI article for the week.
That's it. We'll use that one next time. Randy, I keep telling you those wheat pennies in your closet are worthless. You need to just give those to me and let me take care of
Just
those
hold
for
your
you.
breath until I go home and get them. Okay?
Yeah. Just bring those to me. Still, all the online stirred interest has resulted in coin shops being inundated with these folks who believe that they have something rare when in reality they don't. Increased interest in coins has led to overvalued coins being sold on eBay and Etsy. Counterfeit Lincoln wheat pennies
gee.
made in China are being hawked. What should I do if I have some pennies or other coins that I think are valuable? Even though the most valuable coins are usually in collections and have very publicly been sold and resold, Feigenbaum said that sometimes people may inherit a batch of well-preserved coins or purchase some at an estate sale.
So here are some tips. Read up on your coins. While there are apps you can use to check on your coins, they aren't always accurate. But you can check the value of coins in the 2026 Red Book, a guidebook of United States coins, which is available in bookstores and online on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It answers all kind of questions like, oh, if I'm thinking about collecting Lincoln cents, what should I expect to pay? Said Feigenbaum, one of the book's editors. You'll see in that book there's no $1 million cents. Go get your coins graded. You can have the coins authenticated at their value, just as jewelry is from several services, including CAC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, and Professional Coin Grading Service.
The AI future doesn't have to be grim. Get a hobby. Hobbies can offer an analog, in-person alternative in a tech-centered world. Americans, especially young adults, increasingly value what's known as productive leisure. The growing hobby economy supports local businesses and can provide for new job opportunities. While you may look up instructions, the digital world doesn't offer the feeling of a pencil on a sketchbook, wool yarn through your fingers, or shaping clay into a new vessel.
It's an analog experience that more people are craving, sitting down to create something, meeting a new group of people, being exposed to new ideas. Hobbies are, in some ways, the ultimate tech-proof activity and offer a rosier picture of what an AI future could look like. It's not the kind of thing that you want AI to speed up or improve. The whole value of a hobby is actually doing it and your personal fulfillment in doing the task.
That's right. Hobbyists and scholars have said that hobbies are the antidote to the perfect storm of affordability concerns, social isolation, and yearning for life beyond screens. A more sober-inclined community-starved population is gravitating towards pursuits that get them out of the house and offer them a bang for their buck. Some of the pressures of the AI revolution may simultaneously undergird the push towards a hobby frenzy. Workplaces are shrinking. There is less human interaction, and the tasks are being shuttled off to AI agents. That's where the humble hobby can come in handy. A thriving hobby economy might be the perfect fit for the AI era and offer some labor market solutions for workforces that are having a problem pivoting on the fly.
The hobby economy supports people to really become highly skilled at something, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to graduate from high school, much less college, in order to be somebody who's going to be leading a class on gardening or is going to be running a board game cafe. Benjamin Chipman, a 24-year-old marketer and content creator in Brooklyn, has been trying out a bevy of hobbies from Spanish language school to glass blowing to leather working. He loves trying out new things, especially as a postgraduate worker who misses classes and extracurricular activities. He has particularly gravitated toward classes and hobbies focused on scents and the art of perfume making, something he hopes to pursue professionally someday. He says it's an investment in yourself. If you're going to spend money on everything else and you have some discretionary income that's going to support your mental health, that's going to make you more productive at work because you're not just thinking about work all the time. Hobbies give your mind a break from work, and it gives you the opportunity to meet new people, which is great.
As of 2023, a majority of American adults said in a Gallup survey that hobbies and recreational activities were extremely or very important in their lives, a 13% increase since 2002. That's particularly pronounced among Americans 18 to 34. They're turning towards analog bags stuffed with crafts as an alternative to doom scrolling. It's all part of a broader movement among young people who are smashing iPhones, adopting dumb phones, and hosting anti-social media parties.
I want to go to the smashing
I was
iPhone
going to
party.
say, I haven't heard of any of these get-togethers, but I'd love to go to one.
Yep.
We're probably too old to get invited.
Probably.
Yeah.
Corey, have you been invited?
I have not been.
He's too old too.
See-
25. 25 is too old.
You'll show up with your analog phone and they're like,
Right.
really?
The sentiment comes as Americans face fewer third spaces like churches, cafes, bars, clubs, libraries, gyms, bookstores, and less time spent socializing, and a heftier price tag for nights out. As Chipman said, it feels more justifiable to put money towards a hobby class than going out. At least you walk away with something worthwhile.
People aren't leaving their homes as much to engage with what she calls the pure leisure economy, which includes things like a nice meal, shopping, or even a movie. Ironically, technological advances and disruptions have made it possible for all these things to be done at home now. What an interesting concept.
Right.
Instead, consumers might increasingly find it worthwhile to venture out for productive leisure, an experience that can't be replicated at home or by the chatbot on their phones. In an era when people especially value getting the most for their money, hobbies may be ripe for both spending and selling. IBIS World projects that fabric, craft, and sewing supply stores in the U.S. will see their revenues grow from $5.3 billion to $5.8 billion by 2030, and revenue for online hobby and craft supply sales will grow from $22.6 billion to $25.1 billion.
Yet Abby Glassenberg, the president and co-founder of the Craft Industry Alliance, chalks up some of the recent hobby interest, especially in relation to a more digital world, towards a newer yearning for tactile. She believes that one of the feelings that especially younger people have is that they don't own anything. All their music is available on Spotify. You don't have to buy a record or a CD, and you don't have to have a physical collection of anything. And all of our it all lives on your phone, and I think that as a humans, that doesn't feel very good. By contrast, crafting feels very real. You can see your mistakes. You can hold up your product and the end result. A far cry from an AI ecosystem that increasingly can create an intangible, alternative screen-based reality. In the last few decades, we were about how easily something could be mass-produced. The pendulum of taste might have swung back towards the handmade items. I think that people are going to continue to really value life, real life and real life objects and the beauty of the handmade.
So, what an AI-proof hobby economy means for jobs. Hobbies have a built-in advantage, providing a new economic foundation through consistency and spillover spending. As opposed to pure leisure, a rock climber, for example, hits the wall regularly. They're spending money on instructors and at the cafe and the gym. In contrast, few people attend the movies every weekend. These are often one-off outings. Hobbies are designed to be purposefully repetitive, something that could be a boon for downtowns and businesses nearby. That kind of recurring visitation is also really healthy for people using transit and supporting public transportation. It also creates regular foot traffic. It also potentially works better for people in that you may also end up spending $100, but it's not going to be across one night out. It's going to be maybe 5 different times that you get back to this place.
For the workers who keep the hobby economy afloat, it's an opportunity to skill up beyond what traditional retail requires without relying on traditional education. That specialization can also open up doors to a new wage opportunities, leading to more dollars flowing through the areas where we live and work. There are still serious headwinds facing hobbyists. The shuttering of major craft retailers like Joann's and tariffs have packed a 1-2 punch for many retailers and crafters alike. That means there's still a big gap between the vision of a hobby-forward AI future and the reality-facing activity enthusiasts. Even so, though optimists see an opportunity.
So I have to mention the 5-6 Center in downtown Macon. They offer painting classes in their gallery and pottery classes in the basement, and it is very inexpensive fun. Every time we've attended a class, everyone was sociable, and we had a great time.
Yep.
Just search 567 Center Macon to check them out. Now back to the articles.
I want to say one thing real quick
Yeah.
in case we don't have time to get this last one in.
Yeah.
We talked about it at the beginning of the show, bad habits with spending no matter how much money you make.
That's right.
So our next 2 episodes are going to be a pre-recorded holiday episode that we put together. So we're not going to be coming up with new material necessarily. But this challenge goes to myself as well. If you get a bonus, or if you get if you have some savings at the end of the year going into 2026, I'm gonna strive to do this. Put the money toward a retirement account first, or at least a part of the money.
Yep.
Right? You can put $7,500 actually into an IRA or a Roth IRA in 2026.
Go out and celebrate the bonus. Have a nice meal.
Have a nice meal, but set aside at least some money to go into your retirement account and then go to Disney World with the rest instead of the other way around where there's not going to be any left over to put into the retirement account.
That's the paying yourself first piece.
It's the paying yourself first piece. And so if you can go ahead and save to your account on January 1 when you're eligible to do so, and then party, so to speak, with the leftovers, I think you're starting your year off on the right foot.
I think that's excellent, an excellent challenge for everybody. I think it would be great to hear back from some people, if they did what you just suggested, and see how it ended up for them at the end of next year. So anyway, we're coming up on the end of the show. Sherry, you got anything in the last comments?
I'm just seeing very fewer people going to Disney and all those places.
It's just getting to be outrageously
expensive that they'd rather stay home and do something creative.
Absolutely. Well, look, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you all have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
We'll see you next year.
And we'll see you next year.
Thanks for listening to Your Money, produced by Lifespan Wealth Management. As financial advisors, the main thing they do is provide retirement planning and advice and manage their clients' investment accounts. If you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact their office at 478-922-8100 to set up your complimentary consultation. You can learn more about them by visiting their website, retirerelax.com. And if you have a question or a topic that you would like them to cover in next week's broadcast, you can email Randy at rfmoney.com. They look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth.